everybody, this is Ced, and this is another one of my movie reviews. And today I will be reviewing, you already know what I'm reviewing. Alright, so this is a real fun time to be a film fan, a superhero flick fan, or an action film fan. Of course, you know, comic fans, I don't know if they're ever happy with any time. But we've reached a point now to where there's a lot of beef going on. I mean, there's DC versus Marvel, Marvel versus DC. And it's very fun to actually watch and see how fans react to the different films that are coming out now, and they're coming out more and more closely together, which I also love and appreciate. So coming off of Batman versus Superman, of course there were a lot of strong opinions, directed towards DC after that film was released from Marvel fanboys and some DC fans also. So now with Marvel releasing Civil War, it's kind of like they had a burden on them to bring out something that would lift a lot of these fans' spirits, and something that would also exert their dominance as far as the film industry goes right now. I myself, of course, overall, Team DC. I'm a huge DC fan. I love how dark the film and the materials usually get. I'm just all about DC for the most part. Obvious. Character-wise, though, of course, I'm all about the Hulk, so that's why I'm able to appreciate both sides. I can appreciate the darkness that DC gives, and as far as Marvel goes, I'm able to appreciate just the storylines and the writing. It's kind of fun to be able to go between both and just really note the differences that you see as strengths on both sides. And so let's get right into it. I mean, this is a movie I could talk about easily for hours. This is a spoiler-free review. As tempted as I am to go into detail about some of the scenes in this film, I'm not going to do it. I might wait a week and then release a different video with some in-depth commentary. Let's go ahead and kick it off with the acting. The usual suspects do great as always. Chris Evans is Captain America. He plays Captain America well, because I've always hated Captain America, and Chris Evans makes me hate him even more, and I didn't think that was possible. Captain America is the superhero equivalent of a Donald Trump supporter. Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr., man, he is Tony Stark. He is Iron Man. This is his role, and it seems like every film he just gets better with it. You can actually tell that Tony is evolving, and he's going through some things, and he may be going down a road that could potentially be the end of Iron Man. I mean, he's actually playing him in such a way to where you're kind of concerned about him. But in this film, Civil War, Robert Downey Jr., flawless. A lot of the other ones do great. I have to spotlight the newcomer Chadwick Boseman. I'm sorry. Black Panther. A lot of people have been waiting for Black Panther. A lot of comic fans have been waiting for him for years. A lot of film fans, once they heard the announcement that he was being brought into this phase with Marvel, have been extremely excited to see how it would go. I tell you, it could not have been cast any better. It could not have been cast any better. Boseman kills it. He kills it. And the way that he's brought into the film and into the storyline, kudos to the writers, man. Marvel's writers are on a roll unlike any we've ever seen in film. I mean, it's just, I actually sit and watch these films and I try to find flaws and I try to pick out things like, oh, well, they kind of messed up with that. These Marvel writers, when it comes to bringing in new characters and making them relevant to the storyline that's already in progress, I mean, they're almost masters. I say almost for a reason, but they're almost masters, and they do a great job with bringing in Black Panther. Spider-Man being played by the young Tom Holland, great. I mean, it is Spider-Man. And you really get the feeling in this film that now that Marvel has it back, Disney/Marvel has it back, Spider-Man is really about to be taken to a level that we haven't seen yet. And it will probably end up having a very long run. I mean, a great franchise, because this is a young guy. He could come up through several different storylines and story arcs. It's very exciting to kind of see him come in and see the beginning of his run with the Avengers. And I gotta say, man, shout out to Marvel for somehow managing to make me a fan of Ant-Man. When I first heard that Ant-Man was being added to the franchise, I thought it was a joke. I mean, I read up on them and I just did not see the point. I was like, okay, Marvel's about to make that fatal flaw that's going to kill their franchise now. I just really did not see it working, and they proved me wrong. I'm a Paul Rudd fan, of course, from my favorite movie, Anchorman, and several others he's done. But to see him come in and to be able to believably play this guy who, you know, just walks into a superhero situation is really cool. I really enjoyed his solo film. And now that he is in this film with the other Avengers, seeing him in action, I mean, there's an airport scene, I'm telling you, if you are able to watch the entire scene without getting out of your seat, you're just not a fan of film, period. That scene is crazy and it's fun. I mean, it felt like I was on a roller coaster ride. I mean, everywhere you turn, something crazy was happening. Kudos to Marvel for that. And I already shouted out the writers for Marvel, but overall writing, I would give I'll just go ahead and say an A+. Now, I will say this, and this isn't me trying to do the Marvel versus DC thing. It's really not. But if you could step back and look at how these reviews go when these films come out, I promise you'll notice after you watch the films, a lot of things that some of the other franchises, not only even DC, but even Sony, and Universal, they get knocked for, not Universal, but 20th Century Fox. They get knocked for bringing in characters sometime and not really giving them a motivation or reason to get involved in what's happening. And know-it-alls always pan these studios and directors and actors for doing this, but when Marvel does it, it's somehow overlooked in a lot of cases, and I always find that funny. It happens with two characters here, Spider-Man and Ant-Man. Now they are brought in, that's explained why they were brought in, but as far as them risking their lives to be in this battle, they really don't have the motivation, and we're just kind of expected to say, oh, okay, well, I mean, that's how the storyline goes, and people just accept that, and I'm cool with it. It's a superhero film, it's a comic film, but nobody really gives that slack to anybody else, so I just find that intriguing. I wanted to point that out, and if you're not one of these fanboys who aren't able to see outside of, you know, what you're already a fan of, just start paying attention to that, and I promise you'll notice it's pretty crazy. And lastly, I will say what I really loved about Civil War is this was Marvel almost doing what I always complain about them doing, and that's taking the easy way out. And what I mean by that, of course, I'm a DC fan, like I said, because of the dark turns that the films take, the you know, heavy and serious, more adult themed plot lines. Marvel sort of has a habit of kind of heading in that direction, and then right when it gets to the point where things can get serious and get heavy, and they just play it off with some kind of joke or lighthearted Disney type thing. Iron Man 3. So yeah, Iron Man 3, that's all I have to say. I was the most satisfied when I left the theater last night, or yesterday, because there were probably 3 instances in the film where I started to get disappointed. It was like, okay, here we go. Marvel's about to take the easy way out again. This isn't going to hit the epic level that it could reach if they were just to get dark with it. All 3 times I was wrong. It went there. I will tell you, no spoiler, the climatic scene is epic, and I might go ahead and say the climatic scene is just an epic scene. There's a reveal that happens that just really brings you even further into the film. Very gripping, very emotional, a lot of anger in the scene. I know it had me hot. Yeah, kudos to Marvel for that. I'm glad you finally went there, and I hope you continue to do so now. And lastly, for parents, those of you who are taking kids, be advised, this one has more language than anything Marvel's done as far as the Avengers storyline goes. It gets pretty heavy with some of the language. You know, it's part of the storyline it goes in, but it gets heavy. All right, and that's all do about Civil War today. My rating for Civil War would be Marvel confirms its dominance. I wouldn't even go with, you know, oh, masterpiece or A+ or anything like that. To me, it's more than all of that. This is a film where Marvel basically came in, they kicked in the door, they knocked over some furniture, and they said, okay, this is our genre. If you want to outdo us or if you want to beat us, you better come with it. And as a fan, I appreciate that, because that means everything after has no choice but to get better and crazier. So I'm all for it. So until my next review, I'm not sure which film it'll be for. We finally hit the summer movie season. Stuff coming out every week. But I'll have something posted next week. But until then, hey.